Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel, my Central CSO, and we are a socialist organization. The culture of the police economy with its Central CSO. I want to start off by saying rest in peace, Renee Nicole Good, a mother who was murdered by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. Shame! Renee Nicole Good was shot and killed by pigs while Nicole was responding to an ice raid. She is a hero and died protecting her neighbors. We should all be inspired by her commitment to justice. Let's honor her life by continuing to fight for a better world. Renee Nicole Good didn't come home last night. Her son lost a mother because ICE killed her. Let's continue to fight to protect our neighbors, families, and loved ones in her honor. Renee Nicole Good did nothing wrong. It is our duty to stand up and fight back against these racist ICE raids. The mass kidnappers are the only ones who are the criminals. Nicole Good was doing what many of us here do. We respond to ICE raids and do our very best to stop the migrant from kidnapping our people. We demand the ICE pig who shot and killed Renee Nicole Good be charged and imprisoned. We demand justice. Jail killing cops! Here in Los Angeles, specifically Northridge, a black man named Keith Porter was shot and killed by an ICE agent on New Year's Eve. Shame! We demand a thorough independent investigation and that the pig who killed Keith Porter be prosecuted and imprisoned. No justice! No peace! We stand in full solidarity with the family of Keith Porter and Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. When Chicanos have been killed by police, BLM and LA have stood by us, and we will always stand beside them. The Chicanos and the Black Liberation Struggle have always supported the struggle. We as Central CSO are part of the National Alliance Against Racism and Political Repression. Black men are these crimes nationwide. I want to take this time to unite the struggles against police crime and the fight against ICE. When LAPD or LAC murder someone, I want you to be just as angry and move into action as when ICE kidnaps or kills our people. LAPD and LAC have a history of shooting black people and Raza just the same way ICE shot.
Bob Mills introduces the all-new leather auto rocking glider recliner with power, comfort, heat, and shiatsu massage. It's less than $40 a month. Another Bob Mills best pick for 26.
Get to investigate themselves. We uplift the demand of community control police to take power away from the cops and give it to the people. The demand made popular by the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, and we're bringing it on today. We demand legalization for all, and nobody should be criminalized by the immigration fighters. While I'm here, let me send a clear message to the pig that murdered Renee Nicole Good. Jonathan Ross, may you continue to be terrified as you see tens of thousands of people of conscience hit the streets nationwide to demand justice. I hope Jonathan Ross never knows a day of peace. We demand ICE agent Jonathan Ross be prosecuted and imprisoned. Jail killing cops! Jail killing cops! And when we take to the streets soon, I want you to bring that energy, right?
So from what I'm hearing, the two that were shot in Portland were actually, it was a Trinidad Agua guy that they had a warrant for. and they went after him, and his girlfriend was in the car, and she tried to run the officers over, but aimed at them. Like they were deliberately trying to hit those agents, and and they wound up getting shot. But I don't know their status. I don't know if anyone died or if they were just hurt. So
All right, that was the update from Los Angeles and the protest that was happening. We are keeping an eye out in New York. Officials will be giving an update soon on a hospital shooting that happened earlier this evening in Brooklyn. We'll be bringing that to you here on Live Now from Fox. We're also learning that we are going to be getting an update in Portland on the shooting that happened there. Two people were shot by federal agents, and learning that we will be getting this news conference coming up at the top of the hour. And you can see some scene of protesters near the hospital there in Portland. DHS has come out and said that this incident involved illegal alien criminals. And we will continue to follow the very latest here for you on that. And we'll get the latest there from the officials on the ground when that does happen. What I want to do, take our final break here of the hour. Stay right here with us. More to come on Live Now from Fox as we await multiple news conferences in the next hour.
okay, folks. So we are they're on a commercial break right now. So I'm waiting for them to finish that up, and I will jump back on. Hey, what's going on, Kane Corso? Gene, KP. Thanks, KP, for the reminder. Ohio, everyone. So we are currently waiting for uh, commercials to go by, and then we will pop back on. To reiterate what I was saying earlier, it looks like we had, aside from the lady that was shot and was all over the news yesterday. Hey, Rachel, thanks. No, I'm glad to, and again, I'm not. Today. I'm not giving opinion puff pieces. I'm simply re-sharing the news courtesy. At least for now, I'm on Fox Live. I might jump to ABC. They had a couple of really good. They had an embedded cameraman in the march in Los Angeles, but the audio got so loud because people were like screaming and yelling that you couldn't hear anything. So really, it was actually more frustrating than anything. But yeah, so you had the lady that was hurt or killed yesterday and ran the agent's foot over. Apparently, he went to the hospital. I didn't know this. The two that were shot in Portland, that guy was actually a wanted felon. He was a Trinidad Agua guy. They had a warrant out for abuse of a SA of a minor and trafficking of drugs. I don't remember. It was two felonies. He got ID'd by street police. CBP went to get him, and he tried to run them all over, and there was gunfire. They both got shot, him and his girlfriend. I don't know what's going on in Brooklyn at the hospital. I have no idea. So I'm going to jump over there. I'm going to bring that back up. I'm going to mute my mic so you guys can listen. Hang on just a second.
Federal agents shooting two people. DHS has said
Let me know if you
that
can hear it.
those two people are gang affiliated illegal aliens. So we will be getting the latest update from officials in just a moment out in Portland. We're also keeping an eye on an update that will be coming up very soon out of Brooklyn in New York City, where officials will be giving us an update on a shooting that happened at a Brooklyn hospital. That looks like it is going to get going here in just a little bit. As soon as it gets going, we'll bring that to you. Of course, we do have the Portland shot as well. So a lot of different moving parts here on Live Now from Fox. But We will do it live here for you. That is the name of the game for us here on Live Now from Fox. So I'm your host, Mike Pace. Always great to be with you. I'll be with you for the next hour as we bring you some of these day's biggest top stories and headlines. While we wait for these two news conferences to start, I want to show you just a little bit more. We were playing Vice President J.D. Vance a little bit earlier when he was doing the White House briefing, taking a lot of questions from the media. You're going to see a really amped up Vice President J.D. Vance get a lot of questions on the incident that happened in Minneapolis yesterday. Let's listen in.
When you have a guy who is defending himself and is now being treated as some sort of federal assassin by so many of the people in this room. First of all, let me say about crime. You mentioned violence. One of the things we're proudest about is that you saw violent crime over the last year drop by 20%. Why is that drop by 20%? Is it because we're attacking our law enforcement officers, or is it because we in the administration are empowering our law enforcement officers to enforce the law? I think that's one of the ways you take down the temperature, is you make people feel more secure and safe in their person and property. That's why we care so much about protecting our law enforcement, because it accrues to the benefit of the entire national community. I think that we can absolutely talk about the ways in which, we can lower the temperature by discussing differences in a reasonable and rational way. Again, I'm happy to talk with any congressional Democrat or any of you about our immigration policy, about why I think it's necessary, about why I think it's in the best interest of the country, about why the President of the United States was elected to actually enforce the border for the first time in at least 4 years. So here's the problem. That's not the debate so many people are having. They are actively covering for people who are committing acts of violence against federal law enforcement. It is preposterous. The way to take down the temperature is to stop it. Have your debates about policy. Attack me. Attack the President of the United States. Don't attack our law enforcement officers. They are trying to do the job the American people demanded that they do. They are not policy actors. They are enforcing the law. They should be treated with a modicum of dignity and respect. And the fact that they're not is why incidents like yesterday happened. The one final point I'll make about this is, look, there's a part of me that feels very, very sad for this woman, not just because she lost her life, but because I think she is a victim of left-wing ideology. What young mother shows up and decides they're going to throw their car in front of ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law? You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point to where you're willing not just to protest, that's fine, not peacefully protest, but throw your vehicle in front of legitimate law enforcement officers and drive your car into them. To get to that point, you have to be, I think, radicalized in a very, very sad way. I certainly wish that she hadn't got there. I know there's an ICE officer right now who very much wishes he was not put in the position where he had to fire a gun to defend his own life. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. What's your message, following up on that, what's your message to the leaders in Minnesota, the governor of Minnesota, the mayor of Minneapolis, to calm down the situation on the ground, on the streets? What's your message also to those protesters who saw that video in a completely different way than you saw that video?
Well, first of all, I think if you watch every angle of that video, there is one angle where if you squint, you can maybe tell yourself that it's not clear what happened. But when you look at all angles of that video, it is very clear that her vehicle went right for the guy. She actually collided with him. And then that's, of course, when he fired his shots. That's obvious, okay? So what I'd say to the protesters is, by all means, protest peacefully, but make this about ideas. Make this about disagreement with our policy. Don't use your protest as a justification or an encouragement for people to go and incite violence and participate in violence against our law enforcement officials. To the people on the ground in Minneapolis, meaning the local officials in Minneapolis from Tim Walz on down, I'd say, look, why can't you just disagree with a given piece of immigration policy without turning law enforcement into the enemy? And think about, for example, a criminal law, where a police officer goes and arrests somebody because they violated a criminal law. If you're mad about that, go and protest the politician who passed that law. Don't attack the police officer who's just doing their job. We had a wide open border under Joe Biden. I happen to think it's a good thing the President of the United States has closed it down. If you think that's a bad idea, criticize this administration for a policy decision. Don't attack our people for enforcing the law, because I guarantee you go to ICE, There are black people and white people. There are Democrats and Republicans. They are patriotic Americans who are trying to enforce the law. Attack me, lay off of our ICE agents. Yeah, in the blue, all the way, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice President. You called on Tim Walz to resign. Can you lay out the case as to why he should step down?
Well, look, I think Tim Walz should resign because it's very clear either that he knew about the fraud in Minneapolis, he knew about the welfare fraud, or at the very least, he looked the other way. I mean, this is not like Lex Luthor, right? This is not movie villain fraud. This is the lowest IQ possible fraud. This is, we're going to take the absence of kids and set up a daycare center where there are no children, and we're going to call our early childhood education center the Quality Learning Center. By the way, if you can't spell learning, maybe you shouldn't be in early childhood education. But people got rich off of this. We know that there were schools who either had no enrollment or at least they overstated their enrollment. Tim Walz, either it was unbelievable incompetence or he was in on the fraud. That's one of the things we're going to get to the bottom of. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Can you explain the difference between this Associate Attorney General and a special counsel? And do you envision this being a permanent position or having more of a limited scope?
Well, it's going to be permanent until we get to the bottom of what's going on. So I think it's going to last for at least the remainder of the administration. What's different about it from a special counsel is, if you remember, the Jack Smith case where the special counsel was found unconstitutional, one of the big issues there is that that person was not an appointed person, completely aside from all the other issues that the person was a lunatic and that the case had no merit. There was a fundamental constitutional issue, which is that he had not been appointed.
All right, that was Vice President J.D. Vance earlier today at the White House. You see the live feed there in New York City. Let's go with the latest updates on a hospital shooting in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn South. I'm joined here by Deputy Inspector Paul Muggio, Executive Officer of the Force Investigation Division, and Deputy Inspector Billy Morales, the Commanding Officer of the 7-8 Precincts. To provide an update regarding an officer-involved shooting that occurred earlier this evening at Methodist Hospital within the confines of the 7-8 Precinct. This incident demonstrates the incredibly dangerous situations that our officers encounter every single day. The information I'm about to provide is preliminary and subject to change. At approximately 5:27 p.m. this evening, multiple 911 calls came over for a violent male armed with a knife inside a Methodist hospital. The call stated that he had barricaded himself inside a room with other people and had cut himself and was trying to cut other people. According to hospital staff, the subject had also threatened to kill them. Officers arrived at Methodist Hospital at about 5:33 p.m. and responded to the 8th floor, where they were met by a group of doctors, nurses, and hospital security who said there was a man barricaded with a knife. When they got to the room, they saw blood all over the walls, floor, and splattered across the exterior of the door. The subject came into the door frame and displayed the bloody weapon. For more than 3 minutes, the officers stood outside the door and issued dozens of verbal commands to the subject to drop the weapon. The subject refused to drop the weapon and forcefully tried to close the door to the room multiple times. Officers tried to open the door multiple times because there were 2 additional people that the subject had trapped in the room, an elderly patient and a member of the hospital security staff who he threatened to kill. The subject stepped towards the officers with the weapon in his hands, and they simultaneously deployed a taser and discharged a firearm. The taser was ineffective, and the subject then continued to try to close the door with the 2 individuals still inside. For the next 4 minutes, officers again tried to kick the door open and issued many verbal commands to the subject to drop the weapon. The subject then advanced towards the officers again, still with the weapon in his hand. Officers again deployed tasers, but those deployments were not effective. Officers then discharged their weapons, and the subject was struck. He was pronounced deceased a short time later. The weapon was recovered at the scene. This entire incident was depicted on body-worn camera footage. This situation could have turned out very differently. The individual threatened to kill hospital staff, barricaded himself inside of a room with an elderly patient and a member of hospital security with a weapon. Every day our officers put on their uniforms, they never know what kind of dangerous situation they are going to encounter. That is the risk that every member of the NYPD faces every single day to keep this city safe. I'll now take a few questions.
All right, folks, we're going to do on-topic questions about this incident. So NBC, please.
Look at a picture of the weapon here. Is that a self-made weapon or is this a knife? What exactly is it?
That is still under investigation, and our Force Investigations Division will investigate that.
Jeff?
Chief, was there any relationship between the perpetrator and the individual who he barricaded himself with? Or?
At this time, we do not believe so.
Any idea on how he got the weapon and also how long he was a patient here at the hospital?
He was a patient. Well, from what we know, he was admitted yesterday, and we do not know at this time how he got the weapon.
So it sounds like the
That is up to you. You have to speak to the hospital staff about that.
the police officer who shot the guy in the Brooklyn hospital, the guy was having a breakdown of some type
That
and
is
was
all
stabbing
part of FID's
or trying to stab
investigation.
people in the hospital, and they tasered him. Did not take effect, and so they went to a firearm. So not Antifa or protest related. It was a legit crazy person.
Again, the suspect was killed by police after that situation unfolded inside a room in a hospital. All right, we are going to keep an eye on multiple live feeds that we have here for you this evening. Our next big story, we are awaiting a update out of Portland. This happened earlier today in the afternoon where we had federal agents shoot two people. We are going to get the latest updates here on Live Now from Fox. DHS says that they were criminal, illegal immigrants. So we will be following always the very latest here for you and waiting for more key details. We will take a 2-minute break and with much, much more as we get it in.
Okay, so we're back to another news break. I'm going to see what else is going on live. But for those of you who kind of popped in a little bit late, they're covering 3 big stories. And again, this is a restream right now. I just happen to have Fox Live. I had jumped to ABC earlier, but the reporter was in the protest, and it was so loud, you know, with people chanting and screaming, you really couldn't hear what the reporter was saying. So it really didn't, you know, it was just a big kerfuffle, for lack of a better word. Yep, and please give my apologies to Little Lone Prepper. I was trying to get rid of the troll, and I think I put LLP in timeout, which is not what I meant to do. So as soon as I figure out how to undo that, I will do so. I am expecting the audio to come back on in a minute. As you can see, they're still on a commercial break on the Fox channel. I'm going to see if maybe ABC has their guy back to where you can actually hear the guy. Bear with me just a second while I try to find the other channel. And I got Rudy Giuliani. Okay, here we got it's like we've got a broadcast. I'm trying to find CNN now. They're doing it looks like they're doing a broadcast from Portland with, let's see, I'm trying to find it, folks. Bear with me here a second. Here we go. I'm going to switch over from Fox to, we're going to switch here from Fox to the other channel, and here we go.
You ought to be blown away.
We got channel Prey over here. Hold on just a second. Okay, here we go.
East Burnside. Our officers responded. We found a male and a female with apparent gunshot wounds. Officers applied a tourniquet and summoned emergency medical personnel. The patients were transported to local hospital, and their conditions at this time are unknown. Officers have determined that.
Okay, hang on just a second, folks.
Our officers responded. We found a male and a female with apparent gunshot wounds. Officers applied a tourniquet and summoned emergency medical personnel. The patients were transported to local hospital, and their conditions at this time are unknown. Officers have determined that the two people who were injured in the shooting involving the federal agents from the earlier call. PPB officers secured both scenes, and this is a federal investigation. It's being led by the FBI. We have been in touch with them. We are, in regular contact. This is their responsibility, but when we have these type of events happen in the city, Portland Police Bureau does offer a level of assistance. This is not any way, shape, or form immigration related on our end. We do not know the facts of this case. We are simply providing that traditional investigative support and perimeter support, which is minimal. But I do want to make it clear that we are out there, but we are not involved in immigration. And we at this time do not know if this is an immigration related event. We do not know which federal, as we know there are many federal agencies serving in the city of Portland right now. So as I said, it's a complex situation with a lot of different information coming out, but Portland Police is on the scene, the detectives, et cetera. I want to say, that I'm saddened that we are here once again in a difficult, challenging, complex situation, but I'm also incredibly grateful for Portlanders. I'm grateful for the way that we have continued to show up over the past year, and we have certainly been tested. And this is no small circumstance. The uncertainty and the fear and the sadness within our community is real. And as the chief law enforcement of the city of Portland, I recognize that. Our members recognize that. And we are doing everything in our power to maintain that level of peace and calm and safety. And I want to thank Portlanders who have continued to show up in this space as well, and hopeful that they will do so over the next couple of days, as I'm expecting many to want to express their frustration and disappointment with events today. As I said, this is early on. We do not know the cause, but we are engaged, and hopefully we'll have more information as the evening unfolds. I'm going to turn it over now to Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Chief. And I just want to also just reiterate what he had talked about the city standing tall and really standing together. And I've been before you already too many times under these circumstances, but I'm grateful that every time I do make the call within such a short period of time, that the Madam Governor will answer the call, and all of the individuals standing behind me and all of our elected officials and community leaders are standing with us as well. And we've always stood together, and we will continue to stand together. Just one day after the horrific violence in Minnesota, our community here in Portland was witness to a moment of fear, confusion, and heartbreak. Earlier this afternoon, 2 people were shot and injured by federal agents in the Hazelwood neighborhood. Violence in our community is devastating. These are not statistics. These are human beings. Portland is not a training ground for militarized agents. When the administration talks about using full force, we are seeing what it means on our streets. The consequences are not abstract. They are felt in hospital rooms and living rooms, in the quiet moments when families try to make sense of what happened, what is happening. We know what the federal government says happened here. There was a time when we could take them at their word. That time is long past. That is why we are calling on ICE to halt all operations in Portland until a full and independent investigation can take place. Our community deserves answers. Our community deserves accountability. And most of all, our community deserves peace. Earlier today, I spoke with Minneapolis.
Sorry, I pulled a switcheroo on you guys. The broadcast was coming in better on another channel. Can you guys hear this one now? Okay, let me try and bring that back up. Hang on just a second here. Let me try that again.
You foster an environment of lawlessness and recklessness. Trust is essential to maintaining community safety and the
Can you hear
rule of
anything
law.
now?
Federal agents at the direction of the Department of Homeland Security are shattering trust. They are hurting people
Okay,
and
great,
they are
thanks.
destroying day by day what we hold dear. Our sense of safety and our literal safety are severely undermined by what happened this afternoon in Portland. I'm so thankful that no one died and more people weren't hurt. The Attorney General and other leaders have been clear about our concerns with the excessive use of force by federal agents in Portland. And today's incident only heightens the need for transparency and accountability. Oregonians deserve clear answers. And I am aligned with the mayor. The priority right now is a full, completed investigation, not more detentions. My message to the federal government is this: we demand transparency. We demand your cooperation with Portland Police and the Multnomah County DA, because we need to investigate this incident efficiently and effectively so we can rebuild trust with our nation's government. There are those.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want and watch it take shape. You can plan,
Now here's a
customize,
commercial within a
expand
commercial.
in any direction. From tools built for one to platforms ready for many. From passion projects to enterprise-grade systems.
Okay,
Everything is
so
built
the
in and
the
ready to
commercial's
launch.
actually
It's
on
a
the
new
news
world of
cast, not on my channel,
where you
believe it
can
or
go
not.
as far as your imagination takes you. Can you imagine it?
Yeah, you
Let's
see it's
make your
Fox
dream a
News down here.
reality right now.
There we go, skip. They put the skip hidden.
I'd now like to hand over the podium to Senator Casey Jama, Democratic leader in the Oregon Senate.
Well, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Senator Casey Chama. I also serve as the Senate Majority Leader. I live Hazelwood neighborhood. The incident took place not that far where I live in my home. I'm raising my two children and live with my wife. I have a few messages, but let me start to say this one first. My prayer is to the families and those who are hurt, and I hope they will recover speedily. As I said, I have been in this country about 28 years and a former refugee. I have never thought I will see this moment in the United States of America. This is a challenging time for us. My colleagues and I are working together to ensure that we address this issue at the state legislative level. We want to do as best as we can to protect the Oregonians who are fearful, who are scared, who are facing persecution under federal law. So we're going to introduce quite a number of bills that will be trying to minimize the impact of ICE in our community. I'm outraged and angry and frustrated, as many Oregonians are. Let me speak to Oregonians. I share your frustration. And immigrant refugee community, let me talk directly to them. I share your fear. I share your challenges that we're all facing. And I know that the struggle is real. Let me say this to the Oregonians. Oregonians are welcoming. State of Oregon is welcoming state. We want to keep that way. We want to fight for that. We want to work hard for that. And we want to make sure that all Oregonians feel welcome. Let me say to this to the federal agencies and the ICE. This is Oregon. We do not need you. You're not welcome. And you need to get the hell out of our community. Now I want to turn to the podium to Multnomah County Chair Jessica Figabert Peterson.
Good evening, everyone. If we were living in anything close to normal times, we would not be here right now. We should not be here right now. We should not be here right now because federal agents should not be in Portland neighborhoods shooting people. We should not be here right now because Renee Nicole Good should be alive and with her family in Minnesota right now. I want everyone to know that Multnomah County stands united in support of our immigrant and refugee neighbors and everyone opposing this injustice. I am proud
Who's this
to be
lady?
joined tonight
Question
by Commissioner
mark.
Moyer, Commissioner Edwards, and Commissioner
I
Jones-Dixon.
question what this person's saying. Who is
Enough
this?
is enough. The terror and violence ICE is causing in our neighborhoods must end now. At this moment, we don't know
Oh,
what
she's on the city.
precipitated the
Her
incident,
name is
the
Viga.
circumstances that led to the shooting, or the identities of people involved. The FBI will be leading the investigation, and they need to allow local law enforcement to participate, and they need to be transparent and accountable to local governments. We know that this news is incredibly alarming and upsetting. We know what happens today speaks to a fear that we have had since last fall when federal law enforcement and immigration agents first increased their presence in our community. Multnomah County will not stand by as federal governments attack our neighbors. Just this morning, our board unanimously voted to extend an emergency declaration in response to the ongoing harm of ICE activity, and we will keep showing up in every way that we can. During our vote, I shared that over the holidays, my office received a string of emails and calls from neighbors in the Brentwood-Darlington neighborhood who are asking for help to find 2 neighbors who were kidnapped by federal agents the day after Christmas. Both of these people are the primary breadwinners for their families, and their children attend the local elementary school. As a parent, my heart breaks for their families and the whole community that has been impacted by these cruel actions. Add to this the horrific murder of Renee Nicole Good in Minnesota, the dozens of lives that have been lost in ICE detention this year, and now a shooting here in Portland. And we can only conclude that this federal activity is a threat to our entire community and is a threat that is growing every day. In light of this, our community is calling on us to act, to deploy resources to support the families impacted by federal activity, and to do all that's in our power to ensure the safety of neighbors going forward. That's what the state of Oregon, Portland, and Multnomah County leaders have done and will continue to do as we respond to this crisis. That's what the people of Portland have done, representing the best of Portland to the whole nation as we continue to stand up for injustice. Thank you to all of you who have come out to protest the cruel and authoritarian actions of this administration while representing Portland's values. Keep showing up the way you have been. Keep raising your voices. Keep showing everyone who we are. Our neighbors and the literal crosshairs of this administration need your support now more than ever. Our solidarity is our strength. These are dark times. There's no getting that, but I know that together we will persevere. Thank you. And now I would like to turn it over to Portland City Councilor Loretta Smith.
Good evening. My name is Loretta Smith, and I'm a counselor from District 1. I stand here with my other counselors, Counselor Candace Avalos and Jamie Dunphy. This situation just got real. This is not a PlayStation moment where you can shoot folks and they come back alive again. I live in that district. The struggle was already real for immigrants and refugees who live in our community and our neighborhoods. And now I have to go home and tell
Hey folks, so I just found this from Homeland. Gonna read it to you in case you can't see it. It said at 2:19 Pacific Standard Time, U.S. Border Patrol agents were conducting a targeted vehicle stop in Portland, Oregon. The passenger of the vehicle and target is a Venezuelan illegal alien affiliated with the transnational Tren de Aragua prostitution ring and involved in a recent shooting in Portland. The vehicle driver is believed to be a member of the Venezuelan gang. When agents identified themselves to the vehicle occupants, the driver weaponized the vehicle and attempted to run over the law enforcement agents. Fearing for life and safety, an agent fired a defensive shot. The driver drove off, fleeing the scene. So that was indeed that guy was indeed a felon.
good. I feel strong standing next to my elected leaders and my community leaders behind me. We have to do whatever we need to do to make sure that ICE is no more. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Latino Network and Tony DeFalco.
Good evening. Tony DeFalco, Executive Director at Latino Network. Community, we are tired of this violence in our community, and we're pissed off. Just last week, we buried one of our young people from gun violence, not less than a mile from this site at 148th and Burnside. This kind of violence is nothing new to our neighborhoods here in Portland and Multnomah County. And we've been working hard for decades to reduce this trend of gun violence by private individuals, but worse, by state-sponsored violence in our neighborhoods. And for this to happen tonight, in many ways, is not a surprise to us. It has been perpetrated upon us for many, many decades as part of routine operations to balance power against our community. So tonight, we have a few calls to action. One, we call on our state leadership to continue its efforts to minimize the role of federal authorities in our communities and to enact legislation in the short session that allows for private right to action, to sue, to enable our Attorney General and others to bring charges against the perpetrators of these violent acts, and to go even further to protect immigrant communities from this ongoing violence and oppression. Two, we desperately need investment in our community. We are picking up the pieces 2 weeks ago, 2 mothers were taken from their families. And many in our community, the mothers are the glue that holds everything together. And by targeting mothers, they are trying to rip away the fabric of our very community. The ability to take care of our young people, to take care of entire families, and to match up breadwinners, resources that are coming in with the ability to get kids to school, get kids into preschool, is absolutely devastating to us. And we are desperately trying to fill the gaps by providing wraparound supports to our communities in the form of rent eviction prevention, food, other necessary things coming from these violent acts of detention and now physical violence. Those resources are not coming from our state yet. We need those resources to come from our state immediately. And last, we are gathering tonight to mourn this act of violence at Legacy Emmanuel Hospital, and we're asking all those that are watching or reading tonight to join us to honor all of those that have been impacted by these violent acts by our federal agencies over the last several months, and to know that we cannot be ripped apart. Despite these intentions of our federal government, we will continue to hold each other close and continue to be the strong fabric that our entire city, county, and state need from our Latina community. Thank you. Next up, Pastors Hennessy and Knutson. I'm not going to choose.
Go ahead, you lead. Come close. Come close. Good evening, everybody. My name is Reverend Dr. J.W. Matt Hennessy, the pastor of the historic Vancouver Avenue First Baptist Church here in Portland, and also the leader of the Interfaith Peace and Action Collaborative. My friends, I echo the very comments that have already been made, and I want to be clear about that. The comments of recognizing that the reason why federal agents are here is because of a false narrative in the first place.
Okay, folks, I'm going to share this one instead. Hang on just a second. Let me know if you can hear that audio.
Fox News alert, FBI on the scene in Portland, Oregon, where we just learned there's been another shooting involving Border Patrol agents in the wake of another ramming attack. According to DHS, Border Patrol agents stopped a vehicle driven by an illegal alien from Venezuela who's a member of Tren de Aragua. The passenger, a woman, was affiliated with Tren de Aragua prostitution ring and a recent shooting. When the officers tried to apprehend him, he, quote, weaponized his vehicle and tried to run them over. Fearing for his life and safety, an agent fired a defensive shot. The driver drove off with the passenger fleeing the scene. The situation is evolving and more information is forthcoming. So the story is still developing and we'll have more details soon. News alert, FBI on the scene in Portland, Oregon, where we just learned there's been another shooting involving Border Patrol agents in the wake of another ramming attack. According to DHS, Border Patrol agents stopped a vehicle driven by an illegal alien from Venezuela who's a member of Tren de Aragua. The passenger, a woman, was affiliated with Tren de Aragua prostitution ring.
On the fact that I still recall that one of my favorite verses of We Shall Overcome is the verse that says, we are not afraid.
Okay, I just switched back to the other newscast.
And we will not be made to fear. We are going to rise above it, reach out to one another, and do everything that we can to work together, pray together, protest together, peacefully together. And remember, let's not take the bait. We can do this peacefully, and peace and love always win.
Thank you, Dr. Hennessy, and to the mayor and the governor, thanks for your leadership and all the elected leaders, Chief Day, and all our friends, Tony and the rest. My name is Reverend Dr. W.J. Mark Knutson, Senior Pastor, Augustana Lutheran Church, a church that declared sanctuary my first year there 30 years ago because people were facing deportation. We're in a lawsuit right now with the federal government, with Pacun, our church, a church in Florida, a large Catholic church in San Diego, and the Interfaith Council of San Francisco. It's moving now quickly in the courts. And the National Education Association has joined that as well. So around this country and this city and state, people are weaving together a movement built on nonviolent direct action to challenge what is into something that can be new. I do want to say to the press today, we celebrate your work. You're not fake, you do real news, and you are storytellers. There wouldn't have been a civil rights movement or a farm workers movement in the same manner without the press being there to cover it. So thank you, and know you're valued. Let me say this, my 1 minute's almost up. I followed a Baptist pastor, so I can take a little bit more time. But I want to say this. We're coming up on the King weekend. And a year ago, we backed our 30th King service back a week until this new administration came into office. Mayor, you came and spoke at that. And we packed the church. People were ready a year ago, January, to stand up and stand in solidarity. Our prayers are number one with our immigrant siblings, the couple that's in trouble today. We have members from 23 countries. I don't know if that's not one of our members from Venezuela and his wife.
Folks, I'm going to share this one. I had heard earlier today that the captain of the Iranian military in one of the provinces was gunned down. They actually showed a video of 2 vehicles coming up to his car and using Kalashnikovs and shooting him. Right now, they have taken the internet out in one of the other cities in Iran. Like, the internet's gone. And this is what's going on in Iran right now. So it sounds like they're in trouble right now. Another report, Iran is supposedly sending in Hezbollah, but there's a problem. Hezbollah has been weakened because of the Israeli attacks, I'm assuming, with the pagers. That's something. Back years ago, they would have gone to jail for that. I'm going to keep an eye on this, folks. But, oh, that's funny. Anyway, I'll bring back the other tab. I'll keep looking for what's going on in Iran.
A core part of our work is defending immigrant and refugee rights. As you heard today, less than 24 hours after Renee Nicole Good was shot and killed by ICE in Minneapolis, 2 people in our communities were shot by ICE here in Portland. Our hearts are with those who were injured, their families, and with everyone carrying fear tonight, because this is not an isolated incident. This is the continuation of ICE harming our communities. While there is still much we don't know, we do know this. People are in the hospital tonight because of the actions taken by our federal government, funded by our tax dollars. And this did not happen in isolation. For months, federal immigration agencies have operated with impunity, deploying heavily armed agents into American communities, smashing car windows, dragging people from their vehicles, tear gassing peaceful protesters, and terrorizing neighborhoods. This is what it looks like when a government brings a war posture into everyday life, into streets, into sidewalks, in communities where people are supposed to be safe. Si sienten rabia, no están exagerando. Esta no es seguridad. No es.
I have a secret. Potbelly will make literally any sandwich I order into a wrap.
Ma'am, we do that for everyone. Introducing new Potbelly wraps with fewer carbs and even more protein. Potbelly, we bring the hot.
Without fear of being detained, harmed, or killed by the federal government. Nadie debería vivir con miedo simplemente por existir. No human being is collateral damage.
Okay, this is another report on the Iran situation.
President Trump has been warning a long list of countries, including Iran. Nationwide protests there against a cost of living crisis.
Let me know if you can hear that.
And President Trump has warned that Iran will get hit hard by the U.S. if protesters are killed. CNN's Paula Hancock has the latest.
A female protester is dragged from a street in Tehran. Demonstrators run for cover as gunfire is heard in Malek Shahi, a city in Iran's western Ilam province. It is a familiar and brutal response to nationwide protests, now in their second week. The Iranian currency is collapsing, inflation rising, and the cost of living becoming hard to bear. Shopkeepers, traders, and students on the streets blame government mismanagement. Officials say publicly they are willing to talk.
The government is trying to be more amenable to dialogue. President Pezeshkian has offered to mediate and engage. He's acknowledged responsibility.
But as the president offers dialogue, the security forces are cracking down, attacking protesters holed up in this hospital in Ilam. Social media footage shows forces inside looking for injured protesters and those trying to hide. The US State Department said, quote, "The assault on the injured with tear gas and live ammunition is a blatant crime against humanity." The US president has already threatened to step in if protesters are killed.
We're watching it very closely. If they start killing people like they have in the past, I think they're going to get hit very hard by the United States.
A move against the Iranian regime that Israel's prime minister has been encouraging.
Actions or statements raised by figures such as the prime minister of the Zionist regime or some radical American officials regarding Iran's internal affairs amount, under international norms, to nothing more than incitement to violence, incitement to terrorism, and incitement to killing.
US military attacks on Venezuela over the weekend and the capture of President Nicolas Maduro will be watched closely in Tehran.
I think Venezuela adds icing to a really clearly baked cake for Iran. The Islamic Republic has learned the hard way that President Trump is unpredictable.
Although the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, does still have some support, there are increasing calls for his removal, both inside and outside the country. Paula Hancock, CNN, Abu Dhabi.
We're closely watching yet another country that Trump is now threatening, Iran. There's video here on the screen of anti-government protests today. What you're looking at are the protests themselves. There were gas canisters thrown. Protesters were clashing with security forces. Trump threatening that the U.S., in his words, is locked and loaded if Iran kills protesters. Rights groups saying at least 29 people have been killed since protests began last week over economic fears. Out front now, retired four-star General Joseph Votel, commander of U.S. Central Command during Trump's first term. And General, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to speak with you again. President Trump has warned Iran, and I'll read the full quote, "We are locked and loaded and ready to go if Iran kills protesters." Now, as of tonight, General, human rights groups say that 29 protesters are dead. So what do you think happens here?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. It's great to be with you again. Well, I think the president certainly is using the informational element of national power here to send a message to the Iranian people and to the Iranian regime. And I think that is what he is definitely focused on. He's trying to send a message of support to the protesters and a message of warning to the regime. There are a wide variety of options that the United States could consider here. I don't know what the specific threshold is that the administration has in mind for deaths on the ground, but again, there are a variety of different options, everything from deploying to, reestablish posture and deterrence to actually conducting strikes, to providing support for opposition elements, to sharing intelligence with some of our partners, or conducting maybe cyber or covert operations to make things more difficult for the regime. So there's lots of options that the president has, and I think right now we're using the informational element of power here to put a lot of pressure on the regime.
And I know, General, you're laying out a lot of options that make a lot of sense. Of course, we're in a world that's very shaken now by what just happened to Maduro. And obviously during the operation last summer, when Israel had said they could take out the supreme leader, they didn't, but then, he was hiding in the bunker, right? You got to now put on the table of, has the whole game changed? Has the red lines moved? Could something happen here of taking out the supreme leader or taking out the president of Iran? I mean, do you think such a thing is on the table for the president?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what all of the options are, but certainly I think going after key leaders would probably be something that at least would be discussed in a wide variety of military options. I think the one thing that I think is important for people to appreciate is that while we've just seen a stunning military down in Caracas by our special operations forces, expertly executed and with a high degree of precision and success. Every situation really presents its own challenges. So trying to do what was done in Caracas, there's an element of an aggravated element of difficulty trying to do something like that in Tehran. So, you have to look at the situation on the ground here and try to match the military options to the situation and the effects that we're trying to create.
General Votel, I'm grateful for your time and thank you so much for your perspective, sir.
If you have ED, you might need to work on your mental game. When you're aroused, your brain
Yeah, so that was the commander. Let's see. He was supposedly of. Oh, let me share this again. There we go. Let me bring that back up here. So the commander was Mahmoud Hakikat. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Commander of the police station in Iran Shahar, Iran, was shot dead by unidentified gunmen. He was a former intelligence chief known for leading crackdowns on anti-Islamic regime protesters, which means protesters now have firearms, which is super interesting. Yeah, he got pie-eyed. This is the governor's office in Tehran has fallen to the protesters. Oh, wow. Oh, this is the guy that got shot again. Protesters attacked the headquarters of the morality police in Tehran. Yeah, this stuff is wild, y'all.
This is asking them of the Portland Police Bureau right now. I think you're referencing.
Well, anyway,
our settlement
folks,
agreement. So it's not
hey,
quite
Devil
an
Dog,
apples to
what's
apples
going on?
comparison. There's a couple of different things there that are nuanced.
There
Certainly
probably
there is
isn't
an opportunity
protesters,
for whether it be the city
JRC.
of Portland or the state of
likely
Oregon
is,
to make a request for
revolutionaries
that
trying to take
information.
the
I mean,
country
from a
back.
public record standpoint, whether or not that process will
Yeah,
will bear
Gene,
any
the
fruit.
women
I don't
are
know, but it's different
protesting.
than
They've been
the
burning their
conversation we're
hijabs,
having around the Department of
and
Justice utilizing or attempting to
it's been
utilize
a thing.
settlement agreement to retrieve information that we believe they don't need to
But
have access
listen,
to.
folks, I'm going to wrap this one up. Hey, Fallen Sky, I'm glad you didn't.
Well, this is uncharted
Glad you're
territory
able to
for us.
make
I'm
it.
not exactly sure. Frankly, there's
I'm
a
going
lot of
to shut this
competing
one down. But
interests,
ladies
as
and
we
gentlemen,
know,
thanks for joining
on
me
this
tonight.
in this
I hope you
area.
found this
I
interesting.
value, like
So
I
to
said, our local
recap, for those of you who
partnerships
rolled in
and the
late,
communication and
they're
transparency that we
still
have shared.
reviewing the
But there's
shooting
also a lot of
of the lady yesterday by the ICE agent. Today, they tried to take a felon, Trender Aqua, and his girlfriend, who is also a felon. The illegal TDA folks tried to actively run over federal agents and a cop, and they got shot. And now they're both arrested, and they're in the hospital. And at the very end there, Iran is literally on fire. The second largest city has no power or internet. The commander of the northern province was gunned down by the resistance movement. They've just overrun the governor's office in the capital of the capital province. And yeah, that's super, super interesting. And it sounds like the new president of Venezuela is working out a deal with the USA to some kind of trade agreement, but I couldn't find the article, so I'll have to come back to that. Anyway, folks, you guys be good, be safe out there. If you're traveling, check your local news. Make sure you don't drive into a protest or into an ice storm. And go check your bags in the morning in your cars and trucks and make sure you have some basics in case you got to hunker down somewhere. You guys be good, be safe, and God bless. We'll see you all later on this week.